Greetings of the day. Myself, I am Dr. Sonali Pankaj Salvi. I am Associate Professor in the Department of Medicine, BJ Government Medical College and Sassoon General Hospitals, Pune. Today, we are here to discuss about oxygen management in wards and in ICUs, and we are going to learn about how to save our oxygen, which is very precious resource. The motto of today's talk is oxygen saved is oxygen gained. So let's first go to what are the principles for doctors. So oxygen is a very precious source. We have to manage it in a very rationalized way and also optimize it. Our aim is not to curtail oxygen but to use it judiciously so that we have plenty of resources available for any number of patients that we are dealing with. And in the amidst the second wave, we have realized that we have to be prepared for the third wave, which might be upcoming. So hyperoxia is a condition where there is excess amount of oxygen. You all have come across hypoxia. Hypoxia means there is reduced oxygen tension. Hyperoxia is a condition where you have increased oxygen level in the body tissues, and this in turn leads to hyperoxemia, that is increased blood levels of oxygen. This can be detrimental to various tissues in the body. For example, central nervous system. In central nervous system, you can have cerebral vasoconstriction arising out of increased persistent oxygen levels. We can also get ocular toxicity in terms of edema of the optic nerve head. We can have a retrobulbar neuritis and serious conditions like retinal detachment and several other molecular level changes. Now, this can result into permanent blindness if not taken care of. The lungs, which we say that hypoxia damages the lungs, the same way hyperoxia also damages the lungs. Type 2 pneumatocyte injury can occur, and this can result in permanent lung damage also. So considering all these hazards, one must be very cautious about use of oxygen as a medicine. It has to be used in exactly same doses like we use medicines. We use medicines in very specified doses for a specified period. So same way oxygen also should be used in a dosage form in a specific dose in a specific time. Now, like every other drug which has got its dosages, dosage charts, etc., we do not have dosage charts, but yes, we can titrate the oxygen according to certain parameters which we are going to observe. Now, handheld pulse oximeter is the most useful clinical device that one can use at home, at small nursing homes and at even hospitals. Now we can perform this pulse oximetry in 3 fingers. So it is preferable that we use the middle finger or the ring finger or the index finger. The little finger and thumb should not be used preferably for monitoring the oxygen saturation. Now, some oxygen saturation meters are provided with respiratory rate reading in addition. So, in addition to SpO2 reading, we have got pulse rate and we have also got respiratory rate. Now, this respiratory rate reading on the pulse oximeter will additionally help you to decide if the patient is maintaining a good saturation but having a high respiratory rate. Then in that circumstance, the patient still has some sort of a respiratory problem, but his saturation is good enough to maintain all the bodily functions. So in that case, you may decide to not to wean the patient at that moment, and you can wait till the respiratory rate settles down. Now SpO2 at the time of admission during the casualty admission, that setting or that reading is very much important in deciding the further course of treatment, and it also has prognostic values. Patients who have presented with low saturation have had poor prognosis during their hospitalization. Now, once the patient is stabilized into the emergency room, this pulse oximeter reading has to be taken again. That means patient should be reassessed. So, this reassessment can be done very frequently depending on the availability of staff. So, if staff is available in a good number, then this can be done every 15 to 20 minutes or even after every 30 minutes. And then one can decide whether or not to reduce the oxygen flow which the patient is receiving. Now this assessment frequency should be decided as per the hospital protocol. Every hospital has got its own protocols in the management of patients in the casualty, management of patients in the wards and management of patients in the ICU. So general recommendation, this is the recommendation what has come out of the exercise that we are doing since quite a few days, and we have found that this is a very useful one in places where even less number of staff are available. So in the ward, at least 4 hourly monitoring of the SpO2 should be done. In the HDU or in the step down ICU, one must monitor at least every 2 hourly, and in the ICU setting it is variable because depending on the patient's condition, one can reduce or increase the frequency of monitoring, 1 hourly or even more frequent. So weaning is not recommended at night after the patient is asleep, owing to increased risk of sleep apnea as well as unawareness of hypoxia. We have learned all through this pandemic since last 1 year that happy hypoxia is a very well known entity. What is this happy hypoxia? This happy hypoxia is nothing but unawareness of patient's own distress. The patient is undergoing a distress in terms of less oxygen, but the patient is unaware as it does not produce any chest pain or any palpitations. So this perceivement of one's own hypoxia is not there in the patient. That is why this term has come into existence. Now weaning, that is why weaning is not recommended at night, because at night there is risk of unawareness, and also there are some changes in the body which may have implications. Suppose if it is a cardiac patient, that during sleep he may have a paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea, and this again may worsen the underlying hypoxia. If weaning is carried out at night, extreme vigilance is mandatory, because the protocol which we have mentioned a while ago, that protocol may not be strictly applied and one may need to monitor it very frequently. So that is why, depending on the condition, one has to decide. Now the recommendation for ward and ICU and all other places is at least the patient should be monitored for the first reading by the doctor, and the subsequent reading can be taken by the oxygen nurse or the staff nurse on duty. This training has to be carried out by each and every hospital, and training sessions need to be imparted per duty hours. So every duty this training needs to be repeated and reinforced. In such a way, we will be able to save a lot of oxygen in the wards. And during the oxygen audits that have been conducted, it was our observation that most of the times the oxygen saving was carried out mostly in the wards and on lesser occasions in the ICU. Now here is a monitoring chart that we would like to present. This monitoring chart has been devised with careful observations and assessments. It is a very easy to fill chart, and it has got very simple values to be filled in. The first column has serial number, patient name, bed number, date of admission, type of oxygen. In type of oxygen we have to mention whether it is a oxygen delivered by nasal prongs, by NRBM, that is with using a reservoir bag, using an NIV, or using a ventilator, invasive ventilator. Now these readings, the frequency is mentioned here, but as discussed earlier, in the ward the frequency can be every 4 hourly, and in the HDU or step down ICU it can be 2 hourly, and in the ICU it can be hourly or even more frequent depending on the situation. Now once you have completed this chart, you have to mention the ward number and date for every day purpose. Now this chart can be carried out by the next person also. The next person should just carry forward these readings, and he can adjust his oxygen level of the patient depending on the SpO2 readings which have been observed earlier. So that is a benefit, because the next on duty person comes to know what was the weaning protocol that was followed in the morning, and if the patient has been weaned, can he be weaned further. So we have also mentioned columns for signature, because this is very important. Duty doctor and the duty nurse should always remember to sign, because it always signifies that some senior authority has signed on it, then that means it has some medico legal value also. So it can be used for various purposes. In the chart we have used a reading called as FiO2. FiO2 means fraction of inspired oxygen. Now this reading should be used for all patients who are on invasive ventilation or who are on non-invasive ventilation, because this reading can be easily observed on the monitor panel of the ventilator. It guides you as to how much oxygen in liters per minute per hour is being delivered to the patient. In first few hours, the patient might need 100% FiO2. So this reading may vary as per the oxygenation status of the patient. As the oxygenation improves, as the SpO2 improves, one can reduce the FiO2 and patient can be maintained on lesser volumes of oxygen or lesser oxygen in liters per minute. This can be useful in saving lot of oxygen in the ICUs as well. So therefore, we recommend that you mention the FiO2 for every SpO2 reading that is being taken.